Hello everyone, welcome back to another GIS mathematics lecture video. And in this lecture video, I want to take our example of multiplying a row vector times a column vector, and I want to expand that out to multiplying matrices with larger dimensions. And so I really want you to go back if you don't have a good understanding of this previous example with the row times column, because what we're going to be doing is essentially taking all of the larger matrices that we talk about and breaking it down into this idea of a row times a column. So if you don't understand this, you're going to have a really hard time understanding matrix multiplication. So hopefully, if you pause the video, go back, rewatch this video, make sure you understand it before moving on. Okay, let's give ourselves a little bit of space here, and let's talk about multiplying matrices. Okay, and I'm going to start with a conceptual example where we just use letters. Then I'm going to extrapolate that to sort of a generic case that involves this idea of rows and columns, row vectors and column vectors. And then in the next video, we'll go through a number of examples showing how this works. But first, let's define two matrices. Let's define A and let's define B. We're going to do 2 by 2 because it's the easiest to start with. And we're going to define A as having values A, B, C, and D as its elements. And we're going to define B as having elements E, F, G, and H as its elements. Okay? And then we're going to ask ourselves, what is A times B? Okay? So, just to sort of recap, right, this is a 2 by 2 matrix. Actually, let's move these down just a little bit. Right, we have a 2 by 2 matrix being multiplied by a 2 by 2 matrix. So we check the inner dimensions. Does 2 match with 2? The answer is yes, so the multiplication is good. We can proceed. And then we look at the outer dimensions to figure out what our resulting matrix is going to look like. So in this case, 2 by 2 times 2 by 2, the result is going to be 2 by 2. But don't get complacent here, right? The outer dimensions and the inner dimensions, you always have to check these, okay? Don't get complacent. So our result is going to be a 2 by 2 matrix. But what's actually going to go into that matrix? Well, let's do this. Let's give ourselves a lot of space to work with, okay? Hopefully I gave myself enough. So we have 4 elements, and I'm actually going to do this just so we can keep our elements straight. Just so we can keep everything from bleeding together. So we have 4 elements in the output, right? 2 rows, 2 columns, 2 by 2. So what's going to go in this first element here? The general way matrix multiplication works is you multiply the row of A times the column of B. So this is going to be row 1 of A times column 1 of B. So in other words, right, a row vector times a column vector. So in other words, this is going to be, right, our row vector, A, B, times our column vector, E, F. So I'm going to write this, right, so this first one is going to be AB times EG, right, row vector times a column vector. Right, we know how to handle this. We know how to handle a row vector times a column vector because we've already done it. So this is going to result in, right, A times E plus B times G. I'm just filling in the letters here. Right, A times E plus B times G. That's going to be the value of the first element in our AB matrix, okay? So what about over here? Well, this is going to be the first row. This is going to be row 1 in A times column 2 in B, right? So this is going to be AB, right? Because that's the first row in A. Times, right, the second column in B, which is going to be FH. And again, right, row vector times a column vector. We know how to do this, right? The result is going to be equal to A times F plus B times H, right? A times F plus B times H, right? So what about down here? Well, this is going to be row 2 of A times column 1 of B, right? So this is going to be, I'm going to try and do this ahead of time here. Right, row 2 of A is going to be CD. So we're going to have C plus D. Right, column 1 of B is going to be EG. So this is C times E plus D times G. Right, and again, we know how to handle a row vector times a column vector. And then finally, right over here, this is going to be what's left, right? Row 2 of A, because we're in the second row, times column 2 of B, because we're in the second column, times column 2 of B. So what is this going to look like? Again, right, we're going to have a row vector times a column vector. Row 2 of A is going to be CD. And column 2 of B is going to be FH. And we know how to do this. Oops. All right, this is going to be C times F plus D times H. Right? So hopefully this makes sense. This is how you multiply matrices together. Okay? Conceptually. You multiply the row of A times the column of B for whatever element you're working on. So the first element is going to be 1 times 1. This element is going to be, we're in the first row, so it's going to be row 1 of A. We're in the second column, so it's going to be the second column of B. Okay. Hopefully this makes sense. We're going to go through some more examples in the next video. And as always, please reach out. Thank you.